Are you ready to perform at your highest potential? Thank you for joining this GP Strategies webinar, where we'll explore best practices and innovative insights to help you and your organization improve performance.
Again, I want to thank you for joining our session today, and I'm really excited to introduce you to today's presenter, Julian Lee. He is not only my colleague, he is the Enterprise Technology Adoption Change Management Practice Lead here at GP Strategies and a certified change management practitioner with over 30 years of experience. So we really have a great discussion planned in a short amount of time. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Julian.
Well, hello, Kim, and thank you for that nice introduction. And thank you all for joining the session today. We're going to talk about the 5 technology trends for 2025. We've had the luxury of doing this now. I think it's been 3 years, right, Kim? We did 2023, 24, now 25. So we've started a trend that we're going to keep going as long as there's interest around some of the dynamics of organizational change management throughout in the future. So for 2025, we're going to talk about some of the trends that I see are out there, and if others are seeing things that might be different or something that's trending, please feel free to add that to the conversation as we go through this presentation. So again, thank you for joining. Okay, that's right. All right, let's talk about trend number 1. What I'm seeing transpiring now in the change management area of discipline is an integration of change management into organizational strategy, meaning that when companies come together and they have their strategic planning and they discuss what their future plans are from a technology implementation perspective, from new solutions, maybe even from business process perspective, or even some organizational changes, organizational structural changes. Change management is becoming quite the catalyst to ensure that this organizational strategy occurs and that it maintains a certain rigor. It ensures the the alignment and coherence with what that strategy is meant to accomplish. So if we are adopting new technologies, and that's a part of your strategic plan to get a competitive edge or just make some improvements, change management is a critical piece to making that come to fruition. So we have a trend I'm seeing, and I have this in a lot of cases with some of my client base, is that some of the key executives are engaging in change management. And if we heard and we've talked about in the past how critical it is for the top level leadership to show visible and active support. So that's a trend that I'm seeing that's more prevalent, as we go forward. And also that change management is a part of the entire project planning aspect. Now, some of the detailed pieces of the change management activities and tasks may not be at the level in an integrated plan, but some of those key milestones are always there. The other thing that's vitally important is that the metrics, whatever the goals are for your strategic planning, in the technology implementation, change management should be a part of those metrics and should have change metrics as well. So we continue to understand and track and measure and see how well we're doing from a change perspective and seeing if people are making the shift as they should to ensure that we're reaching our strategic goals and our plans. And then one key is culture. Having a change readiness culture is a new trend that I'm seeing. And the more dynamic and the more embracing of change and understanding that the culture of an organization will help achieve those strategic plans and those strategic goals, having a strong change resilient culture is going to be critical to achieving those strategic plans and meeting those business objectives as far as what your strategy is for your organization. So here's a polling question. If you will, you have that option there in this system. Is change management a part of your strategic plan, or your 2025 strategic plan? we'll take a minute to see what kind of responses we get. But think about all the things that you have planned for 2025, say from a technology implementation perspective. Is change management interwoven into those discussions as a critical success factor for those strategic objectives that you're trying to accomplish? So we'll let the poll run for a minute and then see how we do. All right, Kim. If you want to go ahead and end the poll, I think we have a pretty good representation here from the audience. Can you share the results? I know what I'm seeing, and I am pleasantly surprised.
Yes, I'm sharing them. Everybody should be able to see them. So it means that they came to the right presentation.
I'm seeing 82% of the audience here says that change management is a part of your strategic plan. I am so thrilled. I thought that number wouldn't be that high, but that is an amazing accomplishment and attributed to your organization's understanding of the importance of change management when it comes to your strategic objectives that involve that technology implementation, technology adoption. That's exciting. We can stop the call right now. I'm done. I'm happy. I can leave. My world is complete. Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that information. That's quite impressive. Okay. Oh, we went the wrong way. Apologize for that. Let's talk about trend number 2. AI integration and change processes. The incorporation of artificial intelligence, it is all over the place, right? Every time you turn around, we're hearing AI this and AI that. Now, there is a place for AI in your change management processes. It should be able to streamline your technology-driven changes by giving you data insights that help kind of automate routine tasks. It should enhance your decision making and execution of change management activities, leveraging AI to tailor communications. Also, where I find the most beneficial for the components or the AI platforms that I'm using is to analyze survey data to where you can get just detailed information around sentiment, engagement, and how people are really feeling, and some the recommendations for actions to occur based on that sentiment. So having that AI component gives us a greater opportunity to assess survey results, to drive and understand sentiment, because that's where you get your metrics from. This is where we understand how people are feeling about the change and where they are on that continuum of understanding where they fit in and how the change is impacting them. But it's also real time. And then from a ongoing perspective, post go live, there's a trend where we can start to use AI to help manage employee development and any training that's required after the system is up and running. So I'm going to ask a question in the chat, if you will. What AI tools are you using or that you're aware of? If you're not a change practitioner, what AI tools are you using that you are aware of that's being used in order to enhance the change management execution and experience? Kim, I'm not monitoring the chat, so you can tell me what pops in there.
ChatGPT, Copilot, also Claude. Laura has an internal AI tool with one of her clients, and
Excellent.
ChatGPT. I'm a hoarder of AI stuff. I need to put it in everything and see, and then mush them together and then put them, I love me some Grammarly too. They've got a really nice tool.
Absolutely. And that's one of my favorites. Grammarly sits on top of all your applications. So it will do an analysis of your text, your tone, and also make recommendations for how things should be written. Now, the key, and I know I'm going to say this, and I'm sure everyone understands that the key to any AI usage is you can't use it verbatim, and you have to take that information that's being gathered through the process and make it your own. So that's
Mhm.
the key to driving AI usage in communications. And I think it helps streamline and have communications be more effective. Also, what's important is putting the right information in so you can get the results that's meaningful to the scenario that you're trying to address. So if you're driving to understand or create a communication about a particular uh, instance that's going on within a change project, then put that level of detail in there. And it may seem like you're writing the communication, but it'll give you a broader perspective where you can take that information and then tailor it to meet your communication needs. And it's just a powerful tool as we get more and more ingrained in the new way of exercising and executing our change management tactics.
There's a couple more. So DeepSeek. Actually, somebody wants to know what we use
Oh,
for GP strategies. What do we use?
uh, well, we have a authoring tool that's on our end user adoption side called Content AIQ. So that's one that GP offers as that we use, and that's something that we offer as well. I personally use Copilot, Chat
Mhm.
GPT, and I also put Grammarly in there as well. So I have a conglomerate of AI tools that allow me to customize and shape those messages. That's really effective. Good
And
question.
keeping the human in it.
You have to keep the human aspect in it, right?
Mhm.
It's artificial intelligence, so you still have to bring some human intelligence to the equation. But that is a strong trend that I'm seeing, and it does help streamline the engagement and streamline the process of executing your change management activities. So if you're not using it, uh, jump on the bandwagon. Don't be
Mhm.
afraid
We
and
have some
use it.
great suggestions too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Don't take it verbatim. But use it to enhance your change management expertise and enhance your communication capabilities. That's what it's all about. Trend number 3, managing change saturation and fatigue. Now, we talked about this, and I think it was in 2022, but it's still a trend because that we are living in an ever-changing uh, 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 dynamic world from a technology implementation perspective. There's solutions being offered from different parts of an organization, focusing on different stakeholder groups, focusing on some of the same stakeholder groups, and you have to understand that as much change that's going on, that we are we have a tendency for people to get oversaturated and just get fatigue of change. So how does that impact your implementations? It does have a direct impact. If you're not maintaining some kind of morale, a high level of engagement, and ensuring that people have the right mental state, then it's going to affect the productivity of the people that are doing your day-to-day work, and also it's going to impact your technology projects that you're implementing. So you have to understand what are the symptoms of change fatigue or change saturation, and it could be an outward expression that I just can't deal with this anymore, or it could be some passive acknowledgement that this is way too much that I'm going through, and it could be people not showing up to meetings or not being prepared for meetings, uh, just putting off doing the tasks that they need to do, finding excuses for why they can't do it. So all those things could lead to some form of change, saturation, and fatigue. And there's a tool, and if I'm not mistaken, ProSide, the change management organization, has a tool to help measure change fatigue and saturation. So you can actually determine where people are on this spectrum and put mitigating factors in place to help them get better and help them understand that this is a normal process with all the change that's going on, that you will feel this, and that you have the right mindset and helping people to adopt and adapt to these changes as they experience these scenarios. And also, you can use surveys, readiness pulse checks. And there we go, AI-driven insights as to why people may be experiencing some of the fatigue and change that they're and change saturation that they're going through. Real quick, the saturation is obviously the amount of change that's going on, project in this area, project in this in another area, all of it driving for that strategic goals that we're talking about, and just a huge amount of change that's happening within an organization. The fatigue sets in when you're trying to be a part of all those projects, and you just don't have the energy or the capacity to be as active as you like to be. And back in the day, I'm going to date myself, when we would pull people off their day-to-day jobs and put them on projects. That doesn't happen anymore. So saturation and fatigue is real when a person has a day-to-day task that they have to do to keep the operation, to keep the business going, and they are part of a project that's implementing some new technology. So be cognizant of that, and ensure that we're capturing and understanding what people might be experiencing.
Julian, Matt said in the chat that the signs of fatigue that they see is withholding information, refusal to participate, deliverables, and data incomplete.
Yes, yes, it could be that there are people just they're just got so much on their plate that things just don't get prioritized. And in the grand scheme of things, if I have a day-to-day task that I have to do to maintain operation, I like to say to keep the lights on, where is my focus going to be when all these change tasks or these project tasks come on my plate? I'm going to keep the lights on, and everything else is going to fall off. So we have to find the resource utilization to ensure that we're managing fatigue and saturation. One other, I think this was part of our 2022 trend, was to do some pauses and just some breaks in the process. So that may be kind of sacrilegious when it comes to projects being implemented, when time frame and deadlines are important. But if you're reaching a point of saturation, it may be a good time to stop, take a quick pause. It could be a few days, do something related to team building and help build up people's morale. And I know it's hard to do in a virtual world, but I participated in virtual events before, where we step back and we just internalize what people are experiencing to help them get through this particular process. Trend number 4, adoption of digital tools for change management. Now, this is a little bit different from the AI piece. This I'm referring to is a nice trend that I'm seeing, and I have been advocating for this for years. Now, I've been a practitioner for over 32 years, and I know you're wondering, yes, I started when I was 12, but the digitization, I didn't say that correctly, of change management tools has really made leaps and bounds. If you're a practitioner, or if you've been on projects where you've had to work with a change practitioner, the use of Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint and different mechanisms to collect data has been so manually driven that it can be a very time consuming and tedious process just to keep the level of engagement. So the end-to-end tools that are out there now to help manage change management are really a nice trend to see happening for 2025. And I'm thinking it's going to be a lot higher as we move forward. I actually did some research where it's going to be a multi-billion-dollar organization, billion-dollar entry into the change management space when these technology tools are introduced to the change management end-to-end execution. Vitally important, very efficient to help manage that execution. And I find it a breath of fresh air when I can enter information into a platform and it provides the tasks and activities. And the biggest thing about these tools are the collaboration. I can give access to my clients, where before I would have them fill out an Excel spreadsheet, and then I would have to take that information and manage it end to end in that spreadsheet. So now with these tools, I can give every one of my key stakeholders within the project access to a tool where they can enter the information real time, and it doesn't require a lot of back and forth. So the collaboration is critical, and it makes a huge difference as we bring these new tools into existence into our change management task and day-to-day activities. Uh, the key is finding the right kind of tool. We use a tool called ChangeSync, and it is a platform that manages, like I stated, that the initial change management task. You put your change strategy in it, and then everything ties to that. And then the other component of it is that you put your organizational structure for the client into the system. So every change management activity is tied to some piece of the organization, so you can track and see who's struggling with some of the changes based on what organization they're in, and determine where some of the synergies might be and excitement might be based on what organization they're in. And we actually list the people that are part of this organization. That helps drive the right level of engagement. The key to it is that the collaboration and the integration between myself, my client, my counterparts at my client have just gone up tremendously. So it's a pretty impressive way to manage change. And there are several tools out there. I'm not privy to all of them. I think one may be called Strackle, that I've had some opportunity to know about. ChangeSync, as I mentioned, is the one that we're using. I think ProSci may be moving towards a digital platform as well. But managing your end-to-end change management activities is a vital trend that I see that's going to make a huge difference in 2025.
Mhm. Jillian, I want to be conscious of time, but there was a question, and I think you kind of went over it. I just don't want it to, in case you had any add-on, was what the communication channels you're seeing beyond email, SharePoint, Intranet, etc. I don't know if you had anything to add to that, or if you feel you've covered that.
Uh, the communication channels are wide open now. Where with these tools, you can have the communications come from the tool itself, and it allows you to collect that data, and then you can do the analysis on it. Obviously, video has been one that's out there. I didn't mention the AI aspect. There's some AI components that will create real-time, lifelike videos that will you type in the information that you want to share, and it will create that video, and it looks pretty lifelike. And that video can be streamed on TV monitors at client locations. I'm doing that currently with the client, and I wrote the script based on collaborating with the client for what we wanted to share. They reviewed it, approved it, and now it's running out there. So that's one mechanism how a digital adoption tool and AI can help drive a different level of engagement using these technologies out there to ensure that we are communicating effectively and we have the right message going to the right people at the right time.
Mhm. Thanks.
Thank you. Trend number 5. Industry-focused change management. Now, I have to admit, I'm a very transparent person. I've always said, and if any of you have heard some of my previous podcasts or read some of my articles, I've always been of the mindset that change management is industry agnostic and technology agnostic. Now, why that may not be totally true, but I'm moving more towards a new trend that I'm seeing in 2025 to where change management experience, expertise, capabilities need to be aligned with a specific industry focus from a technology adoption perspective. Uh, it allows you to have that seamless transition when you have knowledge of an industry and what they might be experiencing, and also some of the you can drive for those measurable business outcomes when you understand more about the industry. And the other thing I'm seeing that's driving this trend is, I mean, I'm happy with the job that I have, but I do get recruited quite a bit, and that's just a testament to who I am, I guess. However, a lot of times the recruiters will say, do you have healthcare experience? Do you have energy and utility experience? Do you have retail experience? It's a hard requirement from individuals that are seeking to bring on change management consultants. So I see a shift towards this being a very, very high profile, highly sought after skill set for change management, as opposed to my previous stance that change management is technology agnostic and industry agnostic. So we're talking about the industry focus. So let's take healthcare, for instance. There's a lot of regulatory compliance and things you have to manage from a healthcare perspective with electronic health records and interoperability being some key focal points for that industry. The utilities, everything from grid modernizations to other technologies, highly regulated industry where compliance is critical. So the types of communications that you can share in these environments may be a little bit different from a private sector client, and also public sector. Bureaucracy exists, and when you're working in the public sector, say for a government organization, you have to really understand some of the nuances that exist within that space to ensure that your change management is effective and that the execution meets certain criteria, to ensure that the you don't cross any lines, and you have to focus on some of the bureaucracies and some of the complexities that exist in that public sector space. Supply chain, critical piece to focus change management on. I actually wrote an article about how supply chain and change management are intertwined, and also some of the technologies like your warehouse management systems, understanding all your nuances that have to go into warehouse management, some of the replenishing scenarios that exist. I mean, these things are critical to know, where having a focus on that particular industry will drive your change management task and activities to be a little bit different. Retail, I think one of the key components is that even in the industry itself, and even with the customers, we have to think about some of these entities that have customers, the omni-channel approach of how we interact with in a retail space, where multi-channel is me, and I've got all these options. I've got my social media, I got my cell phone, I've got my I can go to the store. Omni-channel is putting all that together, and that's a big shift in the way that retailers are managing the customer experience, and that's a big shift on how customers manage their experience with the retailer. I personally can say I bought a car for my son, and I never stepped one foot into the dealership, not one time. All of it was done via the internet, phone calls, never test drove it, and they delivered it to the house. So you talk about omni-channel in practice. That's the way that's the way it occurred. The technology software, being agile, right? I don't think that's an overused word. I think that that's still going to be a huge trend for 2025. But having the ability to shift based on the needs of the technology solution. I just met with some technology providers, and some of the implementations run 8 to 10 to 12 weeks. So if you think about that from a change management perspective, that's a big shift, because a lot of times our projects run a lot longer. These ERP projects run extensively throughout a project lifecycle. So we have to shift and be agile and adjust our change management focus and our tactical execution to fit a shorter deployment life cycle. So those are some of the things we have to really be cognizant of as we make this shift in 2025 to see some of these trends where there's shorter implementations, being a little bit more agile, and have methodologies that are fit for purpose. And then also the digital transformation of oil and gas. Had an opportunity to be a keynote speaker at a conference last week on the automation and the digital transformation that the oil and gas industry is going through. And it is huge. There are vendors everywhere bringing in data analytics and data-driven solutions, and solutions that help with the operational aspect of the organization of the oil and gas industry. So having that knowledge, having that understanding of how these technologies will disrupt the oil and gas industry is critical from a change management perspective. So you can provide the level of service that's needed. So for those that agree or disagree, I think there is a shift or a direction towards these kinds of change management industry focus experiences that will help each one of these industries get to that end state if we are aligned and have the knowledge and understanding of what nuances and differences that may occur in these particular industries.
time. You got final thoughts, Julian?
Final thoughts. As we go through 2025, we're going to constantly have change technology being implemented and the change management need that's going to be able to help redefine and innovate these organizations. So we still have to adapt to change. So it's a ever occurring scenario. We won't ever get away from new technologies being implemented because businesses trying to grow, all the competitive advantages, everything is driving people to introduce new technologies, especially as the technologies become more effective at reaching those end state goals. Now, the trends we discussed today has to do with the AI driven adoption and some of the digital things that we plan to experience. But this is what's going to help organizations become future ready, right? As we continue to move forward. I mean, I dated myself earlier. I have seen a lot of change, and I'm sure some of you out there have as well, how we've come from where we were to where we are. And it's going to be changing even faster. And we have to be totally prepared for those types of changes. Technology is not the end state. Implementing the technology is a critical piece of really meeting your business strategy. It's empowering people. The humanistic aspect, the human-centric approach to change management is what's going to help organizations reach those organizational goals, and also allow for the technologies to be implemented and get those business results that you're trying to get. So what I'd like to do is thank you for joining me today. Tagline here: stay curious, stay adaptable, and let's shape the future for change management and all these technologies that are being implemented. And I want to thank you for your time. Hopefully this was something beneficial, enjoyable, and you got a lot out of it. And I am accessible where we want to have future discussions around this or any other topic that we might have.
And I want to thank you, Julian, today for such a great discussion. We did have some questions, but due to the time, we're not going to be answering them live, but we'll be sure to follow up with you for those that had some questions. I not only want to thank you, Julian, for your time, I want to thank you all for joining us today, for your time and attention. At the end of the session, we do ask you to take a minute to fill out our survey. We really appreciate your feedback and take it to heart. We hope you'll join us again at another upcoming webinar. Be sure to visit GP Strategies website /webinars to view our future sessions. And I wish everyone who is on the call a wonderful and productive rest of your day. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
This webinar was brought to you by GP Strategies. Together, we help organizations transform through their people. You can access more webinars or download additional resources by visiting the GP Strategies Resource Library. The link is on your screen and in the description.